Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a conversation with the Mutts. I'm your host, the Celtic Mutt,
And I am Mrs. Mutt.
and tonight we are discussing traditions and habits that Americans have that other countries find strange, odd, or just downright rude. I am going to preface this entire show by saying that I personally probably would not fit in anywhere else in the world but right here in America. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, Mutt's loud, he's boisterous, and he just doesn't care what other people think about him. So, with that in mind, let's get into it, shall we? Did you know, honey, that the amount of sugar in our food is seen strange by a lot of other countries?
I came across something about that, but I didn't go into depth on it.
Yeah, they find it very odd that we have so much sugar. People come here and they're really surprised by the sheer amount that we have. Of course, everything in our food it seems that everything in our food has a lot of sugar. So
Yeah, I've gotten that impression from watching the last election and talk with what they were talking about with RFK Jr.
yeah, another thing that other countries don't like the taste of, and this would just not work for me. Uh, Root beer is something that many other countries just don't like. What?
I don't have a problem with liking it. I enjoy it. However, I have to have it either as a float or as what A&W calls a freeze, which is essentially a root beer shake.
Didn't you work for A&W at one point?
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I was
thought
a
so.
waitress in
Yep.
an indoor A&W. Basically, a freeze is ice cream and the root beer blended together. Because if I don't have it with the ice cream, I will get heartburn.
Really?
Yeah.
Root beer gives you heartburn.
Yes, which is weird.
That is strange. I absolutely love. Personally, I don't mind A&W, but I'm more of a Barks guy because it has a little bit more of a bite to it.
What a lot of people don't realize, or I have come across, is that people don't always realize root beer, caffeine free.
Yes, I know. We had a driver, an Uber driver that didn't know that. Yeah.
Another thing, at least with A&W, they cannot store onions that are not completely covered anywhere near that syrup.
It absorbs the taste.
It will contaminate the taste of the root beer.
There's a lot of things that onions contaminate the taste of. Yeah, that's not uncommon.
It really ruins the taste of that.
Yeah.
But did you know that, for example, McDonald's chills their syrup for their Coke?
Yep, I did know that. Another thing that other countries think that let's try that again, ladies and gentlemen. Another thing that countries think that we are strange for doing is the way that we arrange our dates by month, day, year.
Yes.
Most of the world arranges it day, month, year.
You have to think of it when you're looking at theirs is the 10th of September, whatever year.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing, and I have friends who absolutely love this holiday. It's not necessarily one of my favorites, but they rank it right up there with Christmas and Thanksgiving. The fact that Halloween as a holiday is so popular here with both kids and adults is seen as odd in many countries. Yeah.
That's gotten to be quite the money-making holiday.
Oh, absolutely. Didn't you say something about finding that other countries find it strange that we have garbage disposals in our sinks?
Yes. This I actually found at thepoke.com. And it actually says that having garbage disposals in our sink is number one of uh, 17 different things that we shared. These are things that we didn't realize were weird until we talked to non-Americans.
That's this entire show, by the way, pretty
Yes.
much.
Another thing, number 2 actually on that list, DIY auto repair as a common hobby. It's completely foreign to, it says Indians. I'm assuming that, of course, means East India.
I'm sure. I wish one of our roommates would not find it so interesting.
Yes.
At 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
This says this person had a coworker who immigrated to New Jersey from India and was so enthralled by the idea, he ended up with like 10 cars in his backyard and works on them every weekend.
Yeah, that's funny.
That person might want to check out Jeff Foxworthy.
Maybe. Another thing that other countries find that unusual is that here in America, requiring cashiers to stand is seemed as normal. Now, the person that was talking about this that I saw, when they lived in Spain, cashiers are allowed to sit down. So that when they came here to the States, they found it odd that our cashiers are
there. I know that there aren't a whole lot of them out here. To my knowledge, there's only one in our metropolitan area, at least here on the south side.
Yeah.
Aldi's allows their cashiers to stand, and that's a discount.
To stand or to sit?
That is a discount grocery store.
Right.
They pay well, from what I understand, and they allow their cashiers to sit.
That's cool.
However, their cashiers, if I remember right, have to know the price of every item in the store.
That's way too much memorization.
At least that's my understanding. That may have changed, or I may have gotten that information incorrect.
That's crazy. Now, I know this next one is going to, I don't know if it's going to befuddle you or upset you. But, dear.
Yes.
Ranch. Other countries think it's strictly an American thing.
I know.
See, maybe there is some hope for some of these other countries. I personally, ladies and gentlemen, don't like ranch at all. Can't even stand the smell of it. And Mrs. Mutt absolutely loves it.
Well, you also, No,
what?
With your job, yes, I did work food service, but I worked in a hospital. So my food service work was completely different than your food service work, for example.
Well, mine so much wasn't the ranch was the issue when I worked in the restaurants. The restaurant is why I don't like mayonnaise.
Right, but didn't that also generate from that same restaurant?
Not as much. I mean, to some degree, but not as much as the mayonnaise did. They used to make their own. They would make their own by taking oil and egg and shaking them together until it literally made the. It just, I got tired of it. Just the smell of it made me sick. I didn't notice it. Hold on a minute. I didn't. Oh, the other thing that people find very strange here is the amount of flags that we have. Our patriotism apparently is seen as odd, strange, different, and unusual to other countries.
Yes. Now, I actually, in addition to the number of flags, I came across something that talked about in addition to the number of flags, the fact that we have like the giant flags at car dealerships, and they think it takes away from the flag the fact that we wear it, and it on some of the
they don't fly theirs, but they think it's weird that we wear ours. Okay, that makes no sense to me.
Well, I can understand wearing certain things, but I'm sorry, I am personally, this is my personal choice. For those of our audience that would do this, that's fine. But my personal choice,
hey Mac,
I am not putting on a swimsuit, especially not a bikini.
But baby,
no, you got my little black swimsuit. You don't need me in a flag.
That is true. I do have your black swimsuit. Another thing that some countries find odd is the fact that we tip. Tipping is expected and often seen as part of a worker's salary. But in many other countries, service charges are included in the bill. As a result, tipping in other countries isn't as common or even expected. And in Japan, it's seen as downright rude.
Which don't tie into one I have.
What's that?
Figuring out our taxes. Other countries think this is weird. What do you owe? You don't know. But the government knows. But the government doesn't tell you. You have to figure it out, and if you're wrong, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that is a little weird. It almost seems like they're setting us up, doesn't it?
That's like walking into your local mechanic.
Yeah.
And having him do the work, and you have to figure out how much you have to pay him.
Well,
but if you undercut how much you owe him, he's going to take you to court.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see taxes. I have a very unique view on taxes. Taxation is just funding our own slavery. Oh, did I say that quite hard out loud? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Other countries, and this I don't know how I feel. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one. Other countries find the Pledge of Allegiance is seen as strange to non-Americans. I'm sorry, don't you have loyalty to your own country? I don't. Did you find anything on that?
I found something. Let's see if it's. I gotta see if it's in the other article. I'm bouncing back and forth here between articles, folks. Forgive me. They talked about the fact that that's the blind flag worship. Here it is. Reciting the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school as a kid. They have a quote from someone here. I think this is the person's name at Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
It's Wolf of Wigwam.
Okay.
The quote says, I agree that the reciting of the pledge in school seems very authoritarian and indoctrinating, which is ironic because it's supposed to be representative of pronouncing pride and loyalty to a country that loves liberty. Although the country seems to be losing its love of liberty in recent years.
Yeah, well, I personally think that we should be reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, but we're not going to get into that topic on this show. Now, here's one that I found strange. Aussies, and this is no knock on my Australian friends, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mutt does have friends from Australia. Aussies find it strange we have an entire aisle dedicated to sugary breakfast cereals. What? You guys don't have you don't have your Cocoa Puffs next to your Cocoa Krispies next to your Captain Crunch, which is next to your um, Frosted Tony the Tiger Frosted Flakes. What? What? No,
Don't
come on
forget the
now.
Lucky Charms.
Saints preserve us. Yeah, we can't forget the Lucky Charms. Uh, people from many other countries hate the taste of peanut butter. Okay, well, then they would absolutely despise talking to me at dinner time tonight because, ladies and gentlemen, Mutt had a couple of PB&Js for dinner tonight. We were running a little behind, and that's what I had for dinner. Made myself a couple of quick sandwiches. I'll make something else after the show, a little more sustenance.
You know, I
Yes.
came across one at another article that they were saying how we have bread with every meal. They had pointed out to someone from another country had asked about us having bread at every meal. And at first, the person was like, well, no. And then they started thinking about it and they realized, okay, well, with breakfast, we have pancakes or waffles or toast or a muffin.
And you left out French toast. How dare you?
Well,
anyway,
still.
go on.
And then lunch, we're having a sandwich quite often. And then dinner, we're having burgers or pizza with the crust or oftentimes bread to go with dinner, like the cornbread to go with the chili or what have you. So yeah, we are having bread. And they kind of started thinking about it and they're like, well, it's kind of like a lot of the Asian cultures with their approach to rice.
Right.
So I thought that was an interesting comparison.
Yeah. I think it's a little, yeah. I was going to say the Asians with the rice came to mind before you said that. Did you know that other countries also find it strange that we start our week with Sunday rather than Monday?
Mm-hmm. The phrasing in Spanish for the weekend is the end of the week for Saturday and Sunday.
Ah, I see. It seems as strange to people from other countries the fact that Americans eat in our cars, whether driving or just sitting in the car. They find it odd that we are a very car culture, though. I have to say that we are a very car-driven culture here, especially a good classic car. And I know that there are some people who are listening to the show right now, Mac, that absolutely love classic cars. So yeah, other countries like Germany find it odd that we put ice in our drinks, or ice in our water. They tend to drink theirs at room temperature. I'm sorry. First of all, I don't like water as it is by itself. But if I'm going to drink water, it's got to be ice cold.
I'm going to back you up for just a second.
Sure.
You were talking about cars.
Uh-huh.
Pickup trucks don't make sense to them. A lot of them.
Yeah, well,
People here buy pickups, but they don't use them for hauling. It says,
who don't?
Here's somebody that says, here in Europe, people buy pickup trucks for work or to haul items. Americans buy a truck as their normal family, quote unquote, car. Don't get me wrong. I like American trucks and saw some cool ones while visiting Iceland. But I'd only buy a truck if my job required it.
Oh, no, you gotta. I wish I could still drive. We'd have a truck. Love me a good truck, but then again, I also used my truck. I mean, I had my own little side hustle where I would, like when I worked for the furniture company.
Mm-hmm.
When people would buy furniture, they'd come in their little Miatas, and they'd buy like they'd buy
the couch.
or they. Well, I was thinking more like they would buy 20 by 20 square foot piece of a rug and then think that we could roll it up and just stick it in their Miata. Now, just give me your listen. Here's my side hustle. I will deliver it to you for X amount of dollars after work tonight.
Mhm.
You just pay me on the side, and I'd just throw it in the truck, drive it to their address. They'd pay me, and bit by bing, I've had a little extra cash in my pocket.
Right.
You know,
I've actually seen a I don't want to say Craigslist, but a similar style of site
right.
or what have you, where people do offer their services, whether it's legitimate business or side hustles.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a person post that they have a pickup or a vehicle,
Truck bed.
and if you need something hauled, let me know.
Yes, Mac, you can pass out in the truck bed. I know some people that have done that. I have known folks to do that.
One of the things I would love to do.
Stealing tree. What's up, Eric? I'm sorry, I was over on the other side. I'm not ignoring you.
Something I would love to do. Pop an air mattress in there and some pillows. Go find a nice place to stargaze.
Yeah, we could do that. Did you know that in other countries, eating with your hands, especially things like burgers or fries, is seen as unhygienic unless it's traditional, i.e.,
certain specific foods.
Yeah, like in India or Ethiopia. Yeah, they tend to eat a lot with their hands, but yeah, it's seen as just odd. Drinking large beverages on the go, walking around with a coffee or a soda can appears uncouth in places like France or Japan. Whether eating and drinking, are usually done seated. Well, I'm sorry that we tend to be on the go a little more than they do. Apparently,
that's what I was going to say. Is we tend to push more. Well, and this kind of ties into that push. And this is something that I did as in school, and I wouldn't, looking back, don't want if I were to have kids now, wouldn't want them to do. And this is teens having jobs while still in high school. They say that it doesn't teach them how to be responsible with money or how to value it. It wastes the remainder of their childhood. This person says between work, studying, and school, how do they have time to hang out with friends, go to parties, and enjoy their youth?
Well, see, this is where we differ. I started my very first side hustle cutting grass when I was like 10, 12.
Yes, but there you get to control how much you work and when you work.
Yeah, that's true. But I was also the kid that, hey, let's go to the movies. Well, I don't have the money. Well, I want to go to the movies, so we're going to go. I would pay for somebody else's ticket because I had the money to do it.
Right. But
so
again, you control a lot more control.
Yeah, that's true.
My first real job was.
Hold on. Stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
Stop right there. I take offense at the defining it as your first real job. That makes it sound like my cutting grass in Virginia summer heat at 102 degrees wasn't a real job.
I differentiate it from as real job versus working for the private industry council and getting a stipend.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Was where I was making an hourly wage.
Right.
Was the hospital kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I got to impact my schedule
Mm-hmm.
was, okay, well, I have school, so I can't come in until this time because I have school all day.
Right.
Or, okay, well, Christmas vacation.
Nobody's ignoring you,
here.
Eric. Nobody at all is ignoring you.
You know, Christmas vacation starts here, so once
Stop
that starts, I
ignoring
can
me.
work, first shift versus coming in at 3:30, 4 o'clock at the afternoon.
Eric says we're ignoring him.
No.
Is he? Did he not? I've addressed him what 2 or
I
3
said
times.
hello.
Yeah, Mrs. Mutt, Mac. Yeah, okay. I'm not ignoring anybody. I'm on the backside, on the other side of the curtain over here, but I'm not ignoring anybody, Mac. I mean,
well, he giggled
Eric?
after he said that.
Oh, okay.
He said LOL, and he said he was joking.
Oh, okay. Now this next one, I personally have experienced when we went to Venezuela. They do see this as very American, and that's talking loudly in public. Americans are often described as overly loud or boisterous in public spaces, which can be seen as obnoxious in more reserved cultures. Yeah, I have to say that we did get, well, the fact that I'm also in clown makeup or mime makeup got me some strange looks on the subways in Venezuela. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was so much that we were loud or that that I was with other people and they were loud and I'm in my makeup. And since I had my gloves on, I wasn't talking. I don't know which they saw as more strange. Because, yeah, did you know that mimes, as long as they're wearing their gloves, cannot talk? That is a rule. That is a rule in miming.
When I knew that they didn't talk, but I didn't know what the trigger was to when
their gloves.
That curtain fell.
Their gloves. The moment they take their gloves off, they are then out of character.
Really, Mac? That young, huh?
What was that?
He says he raked yards, cut grass all summer, smokes and barley water at 12 years old.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, I don't know about smokes and barley water, but yeah. Overuse of hyperbole. Wait a minute, am I into the other? No, I'm not. That's amazing.
This is true.
Best
this
ever.
Is true, Steel and Tree.
Seen as insincere or dramatic in cultures that value understatement.
Well, to go hand in hand with that.
Mm-hmm.
Where to go? As an American, when anyone cheers USA to deter someone who confronts our government officials in the crowd. And no, it's not just the MAGA people who do it.
Oh, no.
And there was another one in here somewhere, I believe, that tied into. Yes, I know it.
While you're looking for that, dear,
mm-hmm.
I do have some examples of what some other countries find as rude. Like in Japan, tipping in a restaurant, and I believe I said this earlier, is seen as rude or confusing. Service is included in the price, and tipping may imply the staff are not paid properly or need charity. Another thing in Japan, and I knew about this because I've got a friend, I had a friend in high school that his mother was full-blooded Japanese, his father was an American. Wearing shoes indoors is considered very disrespectful and dirty. It's standard to remove shoes at the door and often wear house slippers. Another thing in Japan that is seen as rude is talking loudly on public transportation, which I've already covered. Now the French. Now, as someone who is 1/8 French, some of these I can vouch for, but I personally find and I'm going to probably offend some folks, but it is true. I personally find the French to be obnoxious.
And I'm going to interrupt after you're done with.
Let me do let me do France real quick, and then I will turn it back over to you. Eating while walking, especially snacks or fast food, viewed as sloppy or childish. Meals are meant to be savored and seated and social. Over smiling or being overly friendly with strangers can come off as fake or superficial. The French often reserve warmth for close relationships. Okay, I'll give you that one. Maybe excessive politeness. Now, I personally find the French to be some of the rudest people on the planet. And yes, I've had experiences with plenty of French. I lived in the old French town in Rochester, New Hampshire. I find the French to be extremely rude. So yeah, excessive politeness or small talk in stores is interpreted as awkward or intrusive. Interactions are typically efficient and to the point. Yeah, well, see, I'm also a Southerner, so we don't just say hi, and go on about our. We want to have a conversation, you know. But anyway, you said you had something to go on there, dear. I'm
yes,
sorry.
Give me a second because my lovely tablet decided to give me attitude.
While that's going on, I'll cover the two from Brazil. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, in Brazil, being overly punctual in casual settings may feel uptight or rigid. There's more flexibility in social timing, Brazilian time, as they call it. Not greeting everybody personally in a group. Now, I will say that this is a very South American thing, or at least it was when I was there in the late 80s. The visit I made to Venezuela, they are very personable, or at least they were. I can't speak now, but I can say that then they were very personable. Not greeting everyone personally, like I said, considered rude or cold. Personal greetings, handshakes, kissing on the cheek are very important to them. And yes, they really do kiss on the cheek. So yeah, it's not that's not seen as being flirtatious at all. That's just their greeting, them being polite. Did you find it, hun?
Yeah, you were going back to the patriotic thing.
Yep.
This says this one talks about how it says, quote, I know it's only a certain demographic, but the whole America is the best country to ever exist shtick reminds this person of children arguing over whose dad is the strongest or whose bike is the fastest.
Well, America is the greatest country on the planet.
Some people need to grow up. No country is perfect, and America is far from it. And I think we as Americans all know that every country has its faults, like every person has their faults.
I'm going to say this about America, okay? And I heard this from a pastor many years ago, and it has stuck with me. America is like Noah's Ark during the Great Flood. It may stink to high heaven, as I'm sure the ark did with all those animals on it. It may stink to high heaven, but it's still the best thing afloat, people. People don't leave one country to go to India. They don't leave another country to go to Pakistan. They're all trying to get here, folks. There's a reason for that. I'm just saying. That's my take on it.
They don't go to Mexico to stay in Mexico. They go to Mexico to come up.
Wait. I know. I know that some of y'all probably remember this from the 80s. Don't y'all remember all those people on the Florida shore that were making boats to sail and risk their lives to go to Cuba? Please note the sarcasm here, folks. Please note the sarcasm.
Now, going back to you saying you were, what, an eighth crunch?
Something like that.
This person, the handle is Panda Turtle 27. The point they make is second and third generations Americans who proudly state they have Irish, German, etc. roots. No, you're an American.
Yep, I am.
Unless you visit often or grew up there, you have nothing in common with those countries. It's ironic because people who say they have typically never visited those countries. I'm a first-generation American. My parents immigrated from the USSR in 1979, and I never say I'm Russian American.
Well, that's fine.
I just say I'm American and keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's from Is It Over Yet? 05.
Yeah, well, I know some people that are like that. I do.
Right. But I like claiming my heritage.
Well, yeah, and everybody's culturally different.
Right.
We have to take that into consideration.
To me, that's part of that. It also ties in with saying this person is in my family. That person is in my family. I'm related to this famous person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a whole nother show because that would go on for another 3 days.
Yes,
yeah.
We know you. It's easier for you to say who you're not related to.
Exactly, pretty much. I'm gonna go. I've got one more country I'd like to cover. In India, touching food with the left hand is considered unclean, as the left hand is traditionally reserved for hygienical tasks.
Hygienic purposes.
Yes. Displaying public affection, i.e., kissing and hugging, often seen as inappropriate, especially in rural or conservative areas of India. If they're not affectionate with each other, how is it there's 100 billion of those? I know it's the whole public thing. I get it.
Yes, the good old PDA.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, that covers everything that I have. I believe Mrs. Mutt may have a few more.
Yes, I do.
And now I can jump over and pay attention to the chat and ignore the notes that I had, which were on a separate screen altogether. And so I can now jump over to the chat side while she goes through some of hers.
Pardon me, folks. I have.
Pardon me, boys.
We're not sure if it's a cold or
yep.
allergies, but forgive the cough.
Yes, Steel and Tree, they do worship cows. In America, we eat them.
All right, well, the first one I'm going to start out with here.
I'm sorry, but I had to laugh at this. Eric, a.k.a. Steel and Tree, in India, they worship cows. In America, we take them home at the close of the bar at closing time. Well played, sir. Well played. Yep, beer goggles. Went to bed with a 10, woke up with a 2.
All right, well, I'm going to start here with this first one by painting a picture. It's a chilly October evening. Actually, it's a chilly October Friday evening. You're at a kids' football game. There's music playing. Smell of hot dogs and popcorn in the air. Parents are cheering on their kids' teams, and it's great. Then halftime rolls around, and scantily clad young girls run out to perform a cheer routine. There's music with inappropriate lyrics, booty shaking, twerking, and always a hyper-competitive cheer mom yelling, "Make it sexy! Get it, Mackenzie!" Then the show ends with poses only appropriate for centerfold models.
I've been to a number of cheer competitions because I have family members that were cheerleaders.
Mhm.
I don't know about now. I can't speak on now, but the ones that I went to, no. These are, 7, 8, 9-year-old little girls who were out there.
No, the high school students. Yeah, they're.
Maybe,
And
and
let me
maybe
ask
the
you
college,
something.
and maybe the college
Did
students.
you just have cheerleaders, or did you have cheerleaders and pom pom?
Oh, both. I mean,
Okay.
the cheerleaders had pom poms.
No.
Yes,
I went.
here.
No. Hold on.
Here they did.
Where I
Yes.
went to high school, we have cheerleaders and pom poms.
Oh no.
As
No.
in, there was the cheerleaders,
Right.
and then there was a team of girls called pom poms.
It was the pom pom squad.
Yes.
Yeah. No, our cheerleaders had pom poms.
Coach Smith 87 goes on to say that, quote, some adults ignore the spectacle, some politely clap, but the creeps drink it in like it's a pay-per-view. It struck me as odd at a prep rally when I was 12, and it's only become more strange to me as I've aged.
Oh, I guess I could see that.
I remember in my high school, the flag uniforms, the year I became a flag, the skirts got longer.
Yeah.
Okay, where I'm okay with that.
Okay.
The cheerleader skirts got shorter.
Yes, but
It
they
was
wear.
gay. The cheerleaders, as their protest, pardon me, wore jeans, shirts, and ties on game day instead of wearing their uniforms all day, which was normal. They were like 2 inches shorter.
So it's not like they were showing tail. They had look for those of y'all that don't know. Cheerleaders wear shorts underneath their skirts.
Or something called bloomers.
Or bloomers, yes. So it's not like they're showing off tail, okay?
They may not be showing off their underwear, but those bloomers don't cover anything more than underwear do.
I don't know where you went to school, but I'm going to tell you, they when I was in school, of course, that was many moons ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yes, I acknowledge that. It was definitely different. Now, I can't speak on today. I don't know.
Okay, well, my next one talks about religion.
We tend to stay away from that here on this topic.
Yes, we do, but we're going to go there for this purpose.
Okay.
This person says that they recently returned from a trip to Europe. And while they were traveling, they're always reminded of how weird we are here in the U.S. when it comes to religion.
What do you mean by weird?
Well, they were in Spain and Portugal during Easter and the death of the Pope. There's a lot of cultural Catholicism with the processionals, but their tour guides and some of the locals said the majority of the people don't practice. It's just tradition. Another person stated in Vienna, they were told that less than 30% of people consider themselves believers. One of their guides told them most people here think it's all just a fairy tale. They've actually repurposed many of the cathedrals into museums or music halls because people don't attend church services, or if they do, they keep it to themselves. There are no advertisements for mega churches, no proselytizing, no religious t-shirts, things like that. Being born again or having your whole persona wrapped around your religious beliefs seems uniquely, weirdly American.
Okay.
How many times
I'll
have
let them
you
have that
gone
opinion.
down to the beach, for example, down to the ocean front, and had people trying to pass you a tract?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I
How many
understand.
times have you gone to a thrift store?
Stop. Let me say this. I've done that in other countries,
But you're an American.
but I'm an American. But I've done it in other countries, so I've had the reverse.
But how many, as a tourist in another nation, have you had the locals doing that?
Uh, I was the guy doing it, so I
Right,
didn't
you
pay.
weren't in-
But what I'm saying is I wasn't paying attention to anybody else doing it because I was the guy doing it. And did I see it when we went to Quebec? No, I didn't. But I was also with my parents. I really wasn't paying attention to that. We were there sightseeing, so we had a very focused thing that we were into.
And I'll
So
also say
I can't say that.
it does depend on where you are in the country.
Right.
I think I do not recall that near as much in the Midwest as I have seen down here.
Well, look what we've
Because
got.
this is just southeast.
Yeah, this is also part of the Bible Belt.
Exactly.
We've got CBN right here in our backyard,
Right.
literally.
When I was working at the thrift store, I would have to straighten up the bookshelves. It was not uncommon while straightening up the books and the records and such like that to find tracks that people had put in
Well,
hopes of reaching people.
well, I mean, I can see that. I mean, I have a different perspective on it because of the way I was raised. My mother worked for the Christian Broadcasting Network. She and I both worked for a Christian bookstore.
And it's a different culture down here.
So yeah, it's a very here. That's what I was getting ready to say. Here, it's a very different culture. You can't go. We literally can't go a block without running into two churches. Two.
Yes.
And then you go up a block and there's another one.
Right.
So this area is very heavily, and I hate to use this word because I don't see it as a religion. I see it as a relationship. That's a whole other topic. I'm not going on it, getting into it here, but I see it as a different thing here. So that to me, growing up here, seeing literally a church on almost every corner or every 3 blocks.
Having an area of a town literally called Churchland.
Yes, church land. Yes, exactly. So it is very common here. But anyway, did you have any more?
Yes, I do.
Traditions or habits that we have that Americans are seen as rude or strange?
How many times have you gone to a restaurant, gone out to dinner, and the waiter or waitress brings you your tab?
Right.
You slip your card into the folder or whatever you want to call it. The wait staff comes back, grabs the folder, takes it to another little room, and brings you back your slip to sign.
That's standard operating procedure.
Here,
yes. That's what I'm saying. Here,
letting your waiter take your credit card and walk into a different room completely out of sight. It's wild. We don't have more credit card fraud than we already do.
Although I am noticing that a lot more restaurants are doing it at the table where you slide your own card. Like when we went for our birthday, or my birthday and Alex's.
Okay.
Remember they had that?
No, I don't remember.
It was at the table. I
didn't.
Yep.
I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy trying to
enjoy your meal.
Yeah, trying to eat when I really.
But yeah, that's becoming more common. There was somewhere else that we went.
No, like when we went to Olive Garden for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking she brought something out, not they had a thing at the table.
No, I'm talking about that she did bring out the pay thing at when we went to the steak restaurant.
Olive Garden, they had it at the table.
At Olive Garden, they had it at the table. There's a couple of other restaurants.
I think Applebee's also.
Applebee's, I think, has it. Yeah, there are a number of them now that are doing that.
A lot of the more chain, whereas
yes, yeah. They are starting to change that more often. The church. Let me see here. What did Mac have to say? The churches down here helped the people in need after Helene more than ever, regardless how or what you are. Bema still missing. Yep, 100%, brother. I got you. And if it weren't for the fact that I'm still, shall we say, incapacitated, you can ask Mrs. Mutt. It drove me crazy that I couldn't get down to Carolina because we're right here at it. I couldn't get down to Carolina to help out. I was going nuts. I absolutely wanted to get down there, and Mrs. Mutt can vouch for that.
What, the house where you grew up?
No, he was yeah.
But the house that you lived at when you graduated is what, 20 minutes from the state line?
Yes. Yep. I grew up literally 20 minutes from the state line of North Carolina. So yeah, it when you guys were having trouble, it killed me that I couldn't get down there. But with everything I got going on health wise, I couldn't get down there. The doctor was like, no, we don't think so. So please know that I was beyond thrilled, McGregor, when I saw you back. I had made several posts worrying about you, to be honest, because you were such a regular here. Not to say that I don't love all of my regulars, but Mac is always here.
Yes.
And Eric
Why
is
do you think we keep him around to clean the blackboard? And
yeah, I know, but Eric is getting to be, Eric is getting to be the same way. Eric is very much getting to be that same way. He's
we're gonna
always
have to have
here.
one of them clean the blackboard while the other one scrape it off.
Have I ever been on the New River? No, I haven't.
What about the old river?
No, the New River.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Yeah, I know. No, I've never been on the Old River or the New River, but I have been on the Elizabeth River.
What about the James River?
I've been on the James River, yes. Yes, I have. I've been on the James River. I've been on the Elizabeth River. I've been on the western branch of the Elizabeth River and the eastern branch of the Elizabeth River.
I fished the James River.
Yes. Of course we like you, Mac. But no, I'm sorry. We're getting off track, and I apologize. Yeah, Mrs. Mutt has a couple more here.
This is something that, again, RFK is talking about changing. Pharmaceutical ads.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, little girl. What do you mean you don't like listening to a solid 10 seconds of sped up side effects that often include death, and then being recommended to ask your doctor before you buy it?
Are you flat as a board on your backside? Get no acetol today. This ad brought to you by acetone. Oh, hey, Benny.
Acetone is something.
Yes, I know. I didn't want to actually give an actual pharmaceutical name.
No, but that's a chemical.
Yes, I know. Anyway.
Then you have the privatized healthcare.
We
go into debt for a few doctor visits a year. We pay for the privilege of only paying half or a quarter of the visit or procedure costs. That's why this particular person had to stop getting checkups. Somehow they always required more testing or treatment, and then he or she would be stuck paying thousands of dollars every 6 months to a year.
We're going to avoid this topic because this goes into politics, and I'm not going here.
And that's where I'm.
Yes.
Now we'll skip the next one because that's politics as well. Trinity, I love you, but I can't see my screen.
She is currently being invaded by a feline, ladies and gentlemen.
And actually, that is the end of that article. And I'm thinking that it's been right close to an hour, we won't worry about going into the other article.
Okay, that's fine. We hope that you all have enjoyed seeing how the other half lives. No, how other countries actually view us. Having done a little bit of traveling myself, I will say that it is very odd being an American in another country. Me personally, I didn't worry so much about it because if they didn't like me, they'd tell me to get out of their country, and I'd come back here anyway. I do know. One thing that I found interesting when we were in Venezuela. Now I know that a lot of groups here in this country now see the OK symbol, where your index finger is touching your thumb with the other three fingers up. The OK symbol is seen as a quote unquote racist symbol now. I grew up where it was literally, everything was okay. But in Venezuela, that is actually how prostitutes flag down their nightly activity.
If you make that
or I should say that's how the
advertised.
No, that's not even how. No, I have it backwards. That is how the receiver of said activities is letting them know that he's available for
that he's looking
for that activity. Yes,
commercial company.
Yes, he gives the OK symbol, and that tells them that
If you make that same symbol, and then you put your index finger in that loop and run it around that hole, that is a curse word in sign language.
Yes, I know. It may cause sudden death. I'll pass. Exactly. It may cause sudden death. Ask your doctor.
If you remember George Carlin, if anyone remembers their Carlin, saliva causes death, but only if swallowed in small amounts over several years' time.
That's right. Did you know? Never mind. I'm not even going to go there. Anyway, it's okay to work. Yep, there you go. There you go. Exactly, Mac. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. It's been a little less subdued than we normally are, but we're all adults. We can handle it. Anyway, we hope that you've enjoyed the show. Please, please, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can also look for me over on Mutt's American Crime, where I cover true crime topics. Mrs. Mutt is actually in the process of she's working it out. She's trying to figure out how she wants to do it, but she is thinking about starting her own solo project. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. So you will be hearing more from us. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. And as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to give Mrs. Mutt the last word.
Have fun storming the castle!